All right, looks like we're all set here. Good morning, everyone watching on YouTube. Good morning, everyone watching on Instagram. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of Gar Capital. It is September 18th, Wednesday. Glad to have you aboard. Happy Fed Day to all who celebrate. As you know, today is the day that we actually get the rate decision, the rate cut. So the rate cut, at least we know we're going to get one. The question remains 25 or 50. So that's kind of the big deal today. I'm pretty sure you're going to read all about that on the news feeds, on the server. That's what we're going to talk about pretty much all day. And right now, market's kind of in a holding pattern with that. Dow futures are up 55 points. NASDAQ futures are up 53 points. The S&P up about 9 this morning. Russell is down this morning, 0.13%. 10-year Treasury yields 3.676, higher just a little bit. Dollar index up about a quarter point, still below 101. 1775 for VIX, that's still below 20 at 0.80. Crude oil pulling back, 69.45 a barrel. That's down 0.74%. The gasoline futures are down 0.64%. Gold is up 0.45%. We've talked about gold and kind of the correlation with the Fed cuts on our podcast and our weekly videos. So make sure to check that out. Copper futures are up this morning, up 0.37%. Actually at 2-year highs. That's a good sign. That shows demand for construction, demand for electronics. Copper is a big part of that. Bitcoin futures flat. Ethereum down 1.82%. In Forex land, dollar yen is down 59 pips. More than likely, that will change today when Powell speaks. So the important thing today is that the Fed rate decision is today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And at 2:30 is the actual press conference with Fed Chair Powell. So the question remains, what's going to be more important, the decision itself or the guidance moving forward from Powell? So the market is kind of pricing in 50 basis points. Goldman is saying we're going to get 50. JP Morgan's going to saying we're going to get 50. Bank of America is saying we're going to get 50. I say we get 25, just for the fact that the Fed loves to disappoint. They usually do, and they're usually behind the curve. I hope I'm wrong, like I've been saying, but that's the expectation. So I'm not going to do much today ahead of that because we really don't know where we can go. We have many theories on what could happen. Sure, theories are easy to trade, I guess. But what we could do is deal in probabilities. So if we're looking at this chart here on the S&P, 1, 2, 3, triple top possibly, maybe, or finally triple top breakout. Just depends on the flip of a coin, depends on what they say today. So pretty much we're at neutral at this point. Palantir is really the only thing that we got currently going, and that is down this morning. Let's see, it's at 35.94. It traded about 50 cents higher at close yesterday. So you could see the trend is still there. Nothing has really changed there. I went over a couple of trades, a couple of setups like Tesla on the podcast yesterday. Make sure to subscribe to that. Let's go straight to the questions and see if anyone has anything they want to talk about. Good morning. Good morning. Again, Fed Day, not expecting tons of action anyways, or tons of questions. All questions will be answered pretty much after the fact. And on today's podcast, I'm going to go over exactly what Powell said. What does it mean for the market? What does it mean as an investor? What does it mean as a trader? Worst is over, or the best is yet to come, or we got more downside in October. Again, we're going to have to read everything they say, even beyond what they say, if you know what I mean. It's a poker game out there, guys. It's not what they say, watch what they do. So, if these big banks are saying 50 basis points, sure, that's obviously meaningful. These are professionals, but it doesn't mean they could be right. Anything could happen. And I think that's why we're priced in right now where we are, slightly green, not a ton of fear. VIX is up slightly, but it's pretty much just, again, pins and needles. No one knows what's going to happen as of yet because either direction can be justified. 25, you want to go slow. 50, you really want to go for it. Maybe something really bad's going to happen. And oh my God, 75, if that happens, yeah, well, all bets are off. Who the hell knows? So really the morning note today was really just checking in, seeing if anyone had any questions. And there's a couple here. Let's take a look at it. All right, Alex is asking about SPY levels. So I just talked about SPX being a possible triple top. Similar thing with SPY. The question remains, does this reject, which it can, or does this break out, which it can? It can pick your heart. It's that 161 extension. You see that 161.8 extension has been resistance now since July. So the question now is, does the Fed give us the runway for higher? Or we're just going to come back down maybe to 544, which has been the 20-week moving average. That's about $20 away. That would be a pretty good downside target if we were to reject, because that has been support as of now. Now, the question is, if we go higher, well, again, we're going to speculate as much as we want. 261.8 extension is 693.35. Wouldn't that be a great Christmas if that were to happen? But let's lower expectations there. But yeah, either triple top or breakout. I wish I had more concrete, a concrete prediction for you. Good morning, Microsoft. Let's take a look at it. Microsoft. Okay, trading at 436.88. I got some resistance here at 446.24. There is a slight gap to fill. It has not yet been filled at 442.86. Again, this is going to be another affected stock because such a big part of the S&P 500 index, as we know. And of course, today's Fed day is going to change this. So 446.24 would be the breakout level that I have personally. Probably best to wait for that, or we can wait for a retest of 433. I mean, there's many ways to trade this, but at the end of the day, we just have to wait. And you can see that both would be great. I mean, get down to 406, you retest that support, or you break out 446 and we can get to 487. So, I mean, as long as we're in this channel on Microsoft, right now it's just pretty much range bound, unfortunately. Let's take a look at Citibank. All right, Citibank. Not much going on here. Break of that trend line, but it is above the 200-day. 62.82, I have an alert there. If we break above that, then we can trade the 65s. I've been here before with Citi. It's one of those names that just drags its feet sometimes. I think JPM is a better bank to trade personally, but above the 200 is fine. But there's nothing here to trade as of yet until 62.82. If we're looking for downside, you'd have to break below 56.13, which is the lows from August. So at least break that, and then we could talk about 55 or possibly 52.72. Still an uptrend. Nothing has changed, but again, just very sloppy on Citi. Let's take a look at Disney. All right, Disney is above 92.80. That's a fib level I have there. Yeah. Calls here. Nothing really great out here to trade. If there was a volume boost of some kind, maybe like 10,000 in volume for some calls or something, maybe something that stands out, but Disney wouldn't be something I'm looking at here to trade, to be quite honest. There's really not much to go by. Yes, there is a very nice gap to fill at 110. Eventually that will fill. Question is when. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or this week or anything. So what we can do is maybe if we get above 95, maybe the volume will come in for a little bit and see if we can ride that wave of demand. But I don't see it unless there's some kind of merger plan or something coming out that I'm not knowing about. I don't think there's anything really enticing about trading Disney at this point. Let's take a look at SMCI. Well-defined trend line, pretty clean, right? Other than this break here. Got a gap to fill at 512. So what you want to do is get above 487.71. We'll zoom in here on the daily and you can see it right there. The question remains on SMCI. Do we have the volume? That's really it. And to break out of this trend line, really, you just need to get above like 530 or so. So, you could see that was kind of carving out a bottom on SMCI. This one has been absolutely wrecked, as we know, with chips taking a hit, and especially bad headlines on SMCI with that short report. I think it was Hindenburg's report. So if you're trying to play a turnaround bounce here, let's say all is good with the Fed, we get 50 basis points, everyone's happy, risk assets go higher, 47.71 on SMCI, and this one has been hit. So good turnaround possibility, sure. Let's see, thoughts on NVIDIA? You have a price target. Let's do price target for 12 months. How's that? And you can see well-defined kind of wedge here. In order to do anything on NVIDIA, we got to get above 120.90, and then I would target 127. Personally, in the next 12 months, absolutely, I think NVIDIA gets to 150. And that might be a little too low. Even regardless of what the Fed does today, in my opinion, the good news is that we're in a rate-cutting cycle. So let's just make sure that we know that. Money is getting cheaper. Dollar-based assets like stocks are going to move higher. That's really the key. What we're talking about today is really short-term moves, this week trading, that sort of stuff. But long-term, Nvidia and these names are going to go higher, guys. This is how it works. When money's available, when there's liquidity, stocks and speculation, real estate prices. You thought homes were unaffordable before. Unless we start building a ton of houses, lowering rates does not improve the problem. It's actually counterproductive. But again, I don't know what the plan is out there. Obviously, I'm not an economist. But yes, when you devalue the currency, assets based on that currency will rise in price. Nvidia is no different. Unless there's some horrible news that, again, we can't foresee, Nvidia will be higher. I would say 12-month price target, 150.78. That's the 161.8 fib extension. Thoughts on MU? You're welcome, Alex. Let's see it. MU was part of the watch list, but it hasn't broken my level of 91.95. Got a slight gap fill on 94.65. I'll keep an eye on the volume there if we get anything on MU. Good morning, Dylan. Happy Fed Day. Do you see the S&P 500 hitting 6K by end of year? 6K by end of year would be us getting 50. That's probably your best bet. I just don't think we get that. 6,000 by end of the year is pretty rich. That would be great. I don't think we get there. No. By next year, absolutely, but not 2025 is going to be great. Let's just make that clear, because now we're playing ball. 2026 is when things get scary. So remember when I say that 2026, batten down the hatches, I would say. But 2025, I think we're going to be free and clear. Well, not free and clear. We're going to get pullbacks here and there, as we know, but it's going to be very 2021-esque, 2019-esque, 2009 when we had the rate cutting cycle, 2010 when markets were bouncing. You're going to get kind of that recovery, except that we're at all-time highs or near it. So interesting. Let's take a look at Intel. All right. Intel's had some good news lately. Let's get above 22.65. If there is volume, you do have a gap to fill here at 28.90. So maybe I want to be a little more, get a confirmation, actually. Be a little better off to do 25.51. It's a ways away, but Intel has a lot to prove to us in terms of going long and trading this name. There's a lot of competition, as we know. So Intel is selling off assets to bolster the balance sheet and make investors see that, they're actually trying to improve things. So it's a turnaround story. If you can get above 25.51 until then, it's really just consolidation. And we've traded these gap downs before. Target, Starbucks, we did Nike before. So these are opportunities. Sure, it just takes a little bit. It grinds out. That's why we always talk about the 3-day rule after earnings reports. If you're trying to do anything with the stock, wait 3 days, because that's when usually things level out in terms of price action. But those 3 days, things tend to be a little bit more at even. Those spreads tighten a little bit, because I can't say the panic, because panic can go both ways, upside, downside. But things level out at least. So you get an opportunity to get a price that you want. You're welcome. Can you share patterns and studies you use on TOS? I just price action, but your eyes, I always say, what's the best indicator is your eyes. So what I use is Fibonacci extensions. I don't live off them or anything like that. It's really just trend lines that I use. Sometimes I'll use RSI, but mainly it's going to be the moving averages. Your 20-day, your 50-day, your 100-day, and your 200-day. That's what I use. All right. Good morning, Amazon. Let's see it. All right. 188.94. You can see kind of a well-defined level that we've been kind of rejecting here. So we're right near that point. Let's be a little bit cautious and get us at 191.50 or 80, let's just say. How about 192? That'll clear 188 by $4. Will prevent any kind of reversals, hopefully. And then we can finally go for the Bezos line of 200. We call it the Bezos line because that's the level that kept rejecting and Jeff Bezos kept selling. So there we go. Guys, thank you guys so much for the questions. I appreciate you all joining me this morning. Let's make it a great Wednesday. Let's see what the Fed has to say. I'll keep you guys updated, and the team will as well on the Discord server. If you're interested, read the rolling scroll on the bottom. Join us. It is free. Podcast is always free. YouTube is always free. And these morning notes are always free. Enjoy it. Appreciate it as always. Thank you so much. We will see you later on today for the podcast. I'll break it all down. Cheers all.